you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here, coming at you from beautiful, sunny San Diego. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing a topic that almost every exerciser has experienced. If you've ever known that feeling of success and triumph after a butt-kicking workout, then you probably also know the feeling the next day of agonizing pain in the form of muscular soreness. There are memes all over the internet making fun of the infamous leg day and how when the DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, remember DOMS, and how the DOMS sets in, you may want to consider calling in sick to work that day. Where a set of stairs after leg day looks like a climb to the top of Mount Everest. Or when in the shower and attempting to wash your hair after a killer shoulder blast, it's just ain't gonna happen. So you go without washing your hair that day. Muscle soreness. At some point in your training career, you're gonna most likely experience it. And you will have to navigate the recovery process in order to be able to move on with your normal life. Today, we will be discussing some tips, tricks, and strategies to aid in the healing process. We will discuss prevention strategies, proven to work strategies. We're going to throw a little science in there as well. You know how we do it here. And we're also going to touch on some strategies that were once believed to be detrimental toward the healing process, but may actually, in fact, be the most impactful thing you could do toward helping subside your soreness. We are going to take a deep dive into recovering from the micro tears and trauma that occur to our soft muscle tissue when we train and overload the muscles in your body. But before we get to the topic of the day, I want to start by thanking the sponsor of this podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Lululemon. Lululemon has some of the best athletic wear for both females and males, and I pretty much only wear Lululemon. The quality of material and durability are perfect for my active life. Another one of our sponsors is Dirt Food. Dirt Food, healing and delicious superfoods made by hand and made with love. Dirt Food was created by a local San Diego friend of mine who was going through her battle with cancer, and she was looking for cancer-fighting superfoods to help her defeat the two different types of cancer she had. She created delicious and healthy superfood granola that she makes in her own kitchen. Visit eatdirtfood.com and use the discount code DirtyDamien for 10% off your entire order. That's DIRTYDAMIEN, discount code for 10% off your entire order. Visit eatdirtfood.com. Grab the granola, grab the dirt spice. I highly recommend. And this week's 5-star review comes from Courtney Lynn FTW. That's for the win. Courtney Lynn for the win. Her review is titled Game Changer. One of the best podcasts in the health and fitness game. Damian knows what he is talking about and actually cares about his listeners. Don't sleep on this. Give it a listen and find out for yourself. Yeah, let's go. Reading that got me fired up. Thank you so much, Courtney Lynn, for your support and your kind words. I don't take those words lightly at all. There are countless other podcasts to listen to, and there are an infinite other things that you could be doing instead of listening to the Livin the Dream with your time. I'm so grateful for your support. Thank you. If you're listening to this right now and you haven't left a review, would you do us a favor while you're listening to this episode? If you haven't subscribed yet, please take a second to subscribe to the podcast, which will allow you to get notifications anytime an episode drops. And it also shows more people that this podcast is worth a listen for them. You can also scroll down and leave me a 5-star review if you feel I've earned it. I read every single 5-star review, and I appreciate the love and the feedback. Sometimes you have to research Livin the Dream to be able to leave a review. So if you can't do that, if you can't figure out how to do it, let me know, and I can help you out. Thank you so much. And now on to the topic of the day. Can you remember your first time ever working out? Well, if your memory bank doesn't go back that far, can you remember the time where you haven't worked out in a really long time and you decided to jump back on that horse? Well, you probably nervously got in your car, dressed in all of your gym clothes that hasn't seen much action lately. You probably pulled into the gym parking lot and parked, shut your car off, and you probably just sat there for a moment, seriously considering if you should get out and go inside this intimidating looking building Or just turn the car back on and head to the nearest drive-thru and grab some fast food instead. Okay, you end up going inside and you end up crushing your workout. Your legs are shaking. You're so sweaty. It looks like you climbed out of a pool. Your whole face is beet red. And for some reason, you have this ringing that's in your ears that you're not quite sure if this is a serious medical issue or not. Does this sound familiar? Well, many of us have been there. What is bound to happen, if not the next day, then within the next 48 hours, some serious soreness is inevitably going to reveal its nasty, evil self. Now, if you're like I used to be, and you measure how effective a workout was with how sore you get, you have to go back and listen to our very first episode of the Livin the Dream podcast. It was titled, Why Soreness and Sweating Are Not Good Indicators of a Good Workout. Pause this episode right now and go listen to that masterclass episode. Number one, it was first. There's a reason it was first. This is such a common thing, and I feel like I have to get that message out a little bit better. Soreness is a sign that muscular damage has been done. But soreness in a particular muscle is not an indicator that that muscle will be any stronger, any more toned, or any of that. Soreness is a pain signal being sent from the brain to stop your body from using it in order for it to rest and heal. It is in the recovery where you get stronger, better, and faster. If the soreness continues for many days, you're missing out on very important training time that could be getting you closer to your fitness goals. Our goal when training should be to create an overload on a muscle just small enough to make a change. We want to do the least amount of work as possible to elicit the most amount of change. There's a point when working out where you're starting to get diminishing returns for your hard work. So if the next day after training you touch the muscle and you can feel some tenderness, but nothing really to a point where you actually change your normal biomechanics because of how much pain you're in, then you know you did a good job and you didn't go past your point of diminishing returns. If you are so sore, you can't walk correctly, you can't get up and down stairs without crying, you can't get off the toilet without a forklift, then you went too far. And that's okay. We all do it. We've all been there. Today, we are going to go through some ways to help aid the recovery process and get you back up and training in no time. Now, a quick little overview from episode 1. If you remember, we talked about how during exercise, each rep has different phases. The lowering phase of a rep, where you are working with gravity, is called eccentric. So let's take a squat, for example. When you are lowering your body down, whether you have a dumbbell or a barbell or whatever, if it's just body weight, in the lowering phase of that rep, it is called the eccentric phase. When you pause at any point in the rep, this is going to be considered isometric phase. So lowering is eccentric, pausing or stillness with tension is isometric, and then on the way up, going against gravity, that's called concentric, C-O-N, concentric. Now, isometric phase, like a wall sit or a plank hold, or if you were doing a shoulder raise and at the top you held it there, all of these are examples of isometric. Isometrics create the least amount of muscular damage. Therefore, these are known to generate the least amount of soreness. The concentric phase is next in line for muscular damage. So in the example of the squat, when you're standing from low position to high position, or in a bicep curl, when you're curling the weight from down to up towards the shoulder, that's the concentric phase. And the concentric phase creates just a little bit more damage than the isometric phase, but far less than the last phase that we're going to talk about here, and that is the eccentric phase. The eccentric or lowering phase of the rep creates the most microtrauma and muscular tears to the muscle than any other phase. Therefore, it is known to create the largest amount of stress afterwards and soreness. When I train brand new clients who haven't worked out in a long time or ever, I definitely hold off on doing extended eccentric phases for a pretty long time in order to avoid going too far too fast, which I highly recommend you taking that same advice if you're just starting your fitness journey. Do not focus on the lowering phase where you take 4, 5, 6 seconds to lower. You're going to notice a lot of soreness when you slow down the eccentric phase. There's nothing more demoralizing to a person than maybe only exercising for a short amount of time, like maybe 10 or 20 minutes, barely doing any reps, maybe just a few sets of a few exercises, and then being completely incapacitated for the next day due to soreness. So demoralizing. Our goal should be to make slow, continual progress, small changes day after day, consistently in order to reach our long-term fitness goals. So that may be one thing you want to avoid if you're new to the style of training, especially if you're sore in one muscle group. You still may be able to do some isometric training or some light concentric training while in the repair stage. And we're going to touch more on that in the active recovery section in just a little bit. So to start off our list of strategies on how to aid in the healing process of muscle soreness, the first tip is we have to just use a preventative strategy. Prevention is definitely what we should be striving for. Before you get all hyped up on caffeine and you blast your ratchet playlist in your headphones, just take a second to consider where you're at. If you haven't exercised in years and this is a new training program for you, even if you have been exercising for years but it's a new training program, you gotta start slow. You have to progress slow. Think of you building the body that you want the same way that you think of building your dream house that you want. Your dream house, you start by drawing up the plans. Then you build the most solid foundation that you possibly can. Once the foundation is solidly in place, you then move on to the big pillars or the frame of the house. This is where the structure starts to take shape, the walls, the rooms, the actual skeleton of the house. Once the frame and the big pillars are built, then you start to work on the smaller additional details, adding the windows and the doors and the wallpaper and paint and the cabinets, the color schemes. And finally, once you have a beautiful new home, you start to add in the small little supplemental changes that put those finishing touches. Maybe you put up that big live, laugh, love sign in the living room, or you put your Pamela Anderson poster up over your bed. Oh, is that just me? Okay, never mind. But you see what I'm saying here. Most of us skip the foundation of building our body, and a lot of us even skip the frame steps of building your body, which would be training all 7 fundamental movements that all humans should be able to do, right? Squat, hinge, lunge, push, pull, rotation, gait. There are some of us right now who are trying to skip all the way to the supplemental stage and just hope that those supplements will build us our own dream house. There are also some of us that are like, I've built a house before. I know what I'm doing. Even though I haven't built a house in a decade, I'm going to rush through the foundational and framing stage as fast as I can so that I can get back to the best shape ever as quickly as possible. This is the equivalent of someone that was in really good shape back in their high school days and college days and decided to join a CrossFit box and just start throwing up super heavy Olympic weights, AMRAP style, as many rounds as possible in the quickest amount of time. I really, really, really hope that you can see the issue with these two situations. Planning ahead, starting with the foundation, and building slow will 100% yield the most solid, long-lasting, high-quality structure. But prevention is key. Take the time to prevent so you don't have to tear the whole building down and start from scratch. You should listen to your body. There's a line. Sometimes it's a fine line, and other times it's a very obvious line. Only you are going to know. You have to find the line between overloading the muscle just a little bit, sending the signal to your brain that the muscle needs to be stronger in order to do the type of activity that you're asking it to do, send the signal that growth needs to occur there, but not such a huge signal that the whole body goes into shutdown mode. You should leave your workout feeling accomplished, a little bit energized, and most importantly, proud of what you just accomplished. If you feel crushed, if you feel wiped out, if you need a nap, if you're completely demoralized at how hard that was for you, then you will experience soreness the next day for sure. And then that's just because you did too much damage and you went too far. I am constantly saying this. You have to take your time to build a solid foundation. It takes time to learn and practice the skill of each movement. Squats, push-ups, lunges, deadlifts. These are all very skilled movements that take time. They take time to practice for you to find the mind to muscle connection to work optimally. it takes even more time to progress and increase the load of each of these exercises. And then finally, to sculpt and shape the muscles for aesthetics, or usually happening once everything this is dialed in. You can bring power into the equation when working on performance, but only once you've gotten all that other stuff. All of this takes a really long time. Finding the mobility to move your body perfectly with no weight through a full and controlled range of motion is really where you want to start. This may be boring. If it may seem like a waste of time. It may seem like you're regressing too far back, but you will not regret it. If you start to load up an exercise like a squat before you can even do a full body weight deep squat perfectly, that's when you're going to regret it. This was me. I thought it doesn't matter if I can do a full deep squat. I'm just going to keep loading up this barbell and I'm going to keep doing my squats only to 90 degrees with my knees because that's what I was taught. But boy, was I wrong. Knee pain, hip pain, ankle, back pain, all types of imbalance and strength-related injuries. It was only until I forced myself to go all the way back to square one and address my mobility did I learn how important it really is to build that solid foundation. So don't be like me. Don't waste years of your life training hard when you can train smart. If you're looking for mobility ideas, I have a bunch of great mobility flows on my personal YouTube page and on our Eat the Frog fitness page. I'm going to put the links in the show notes of this masterclass episode. So go ahead, find a pre-workout mobility flow, follow along for 15 minutes, and get a really good idea of what the mobility is all about. If you can't find a certain mobility move for your trouble areas, if you can't find mobility for, let's say, your hips, your ankles, your mid-back, whatever it is, let me know, and I can make sure I send you in the right direction. Once you feel like you're in a good spot with your mobility and your control of your overall body weight, then you can start progressively overloading that muscle by slowly adding weight over time. This should be your progression. Unfortunately, we tend to jump in with both feet because we used to be able to do that, quote unquote, back in the day. I used to be able to do it back in the day. Or because that person is about the same demographic as you and they can do it, so I should be able to do it too, right? No, not true. Not true at all. Everyone is an individual and everyone's fitness journey is unique. This gets exponentially more important the older that you get as well. We then move from soreness prevention to vital injury prevention as we get older. Your strength and your balance and your ability to control your body doing everyday normal tasks becomes significantly more essential because, not to be too dramatic here, but realistically, falls and mistakes become much more life-threatening as we age. And as we lose that ability and mobility to control our body and with our strength. So yes, prevention is definitely the way to go here. Prevent yourself from training with an ego. Meet yourself where you're at right now. You could be really good at one exercise and you could need to improve immensely in another exercise. Invest in slow, continual progress with consistency and a plan. And your future self is going to thank you big time for doing it the right way. Okay, but from time to time, we're going to go too far. That's just how it goes. How can you know your limits if you don't push the boundaries from time to time? Am I right? All right, so with all of that out of the way, with the prevention out of the way, here's the situation. We go too far, and we know we are going to get really sore. What can we do to minimize some of the symptoms and side effects of a brutal training session? The most significant thing that you can do is to immediately prioritize a good quality night's sleep for the next 2 to 3 nights. I know, I talk about sleep all the time. It's starting to get boring. That's just what it is. Sleep is so important. Seriously, this is by far the greatest recovery tool in your toolbox. Your body is designed to repair itself. It is designed to adapt to stressors. It is designed to become more resilient if it is asked to become so. And there is no other time in your life where your body heals itself more than during those 6.5 to 8 hours of sleep or more, right? Now, I'm not just talking about saying to yourself, okay, that was an awesome training session. I definitely got to get some sleep tonight. That's not really enough. You need to literally write down what your sleep routine is going to be, when you're going to start, how long it's going to last, what it's going to entail, when you're going to bed, and when you're going to wake up. We discussed how to create a sleep sanctuary in the previous episodes. If you haven't listened to episode number 6, The 4 Pillars of Fat Loss, or episode 9, The Importance of Sleep on Your Fat Loss Goals, then you should definitely go back and listen to those to help give you some ideas and tips on how to get the best night's sleep possible. So episode number 6, 4 Pillars of Fat Loss, and episode 9, The Importance of Sleep on Your Fat Loss Goals. I'm going to include the links of these episodes in the show notes, along with a few book recommendations for those of you that really struggle with sleep, or for those of you that just want to dive in deeper into all things sleep. You have to read the book Sleep Smarter by Shawn Stevenson. He is the sleep expert that I follow, and that book has changed my mind and changed my whole entire night routine, and it has also changed my clients' sleeping habits forever. Some other books I'll include are Why We Sleep by Matt Walker, The Circadian Code by Satchen Panda, as well as a couple other podcast episodes and studies that may help you educate yourself on some sleep stuff. So sleep is number one. You don't have to pay for expensive recovery tools, for expensive recovery supplements, or for expensive recovery massages. If you prioritize sleep over everything else for the following 2 to 3 nights, hopefully every night, but the point is, focus on it more than you usually do for recovery reasons. You will be just fine. Remember, it is in the recovery where you get stronger, better, faster. And there is no better recovery time than when you are sleeping. It is just as important, if not more important, than your actual training. I'm not going to go into all the specifics of a good quality sleep, but just as a little refresher on the really important factors, you want to have a routine that you use 60 to 90 minutes before you actually lay your head down in order to wind down from your day and send the signal to the body that it's time for bed. You obviously want your room in complete darkness, and you want it to be cool, both the temperature in your room and your bed and your body. Again, a nice hot shower or bath a half hour before your bedtime really does a good job at triggering the body to cool down for a good night's sleep. White noise or the Brain.fm app are really great at helping you get better quality sleep. So go back and do some research by listening to the sleep podcast, and maybe even dive into some of the book recommendations in the show notes to help you lock this aspect of recovery down. It's going to be extremely impactful if you can do this right. Next on the list, we're going to go from sleep, which is generally agreed upon to be the most significant aspect of recovery, to what I personally believe is maybe the least significant aspect of recovery, and that is massage tools. Massage tools, yes. In my opinion, I do feel that these are probably the least significant aspect of recovery, but I also use them very consistently. So here's why. I think they do a really good job at making you feel good in the moment. There's a lot of information out there as to why people love massage tools. These could be anything from massage guns like the Hypervolt, Theragun, or the PureWave, which is what I have. It's a cheaper, slightly less powerful version of the Hypervolt or Theragun. The PureWave is kind of shaped like a back scratcher, which I love because it helps me massage my own back. And you could also go a little bit more basic with the massage tools and just go foam roller or tennis and lacrosse balls. These are all forms of massage recovery tools. With all the information out there, I'm going to try to explain a few theories as to why it helps, and then I'm going to go into my personal opinion as to why I think that they are as effective as they are. So let's start with the actual massage guns, or the massage devices like the Theragun, the Hypervolt, the PureWave, and that category of recovery tools. Why do they work? What the heck are they doing on a physiological level? What is the actual science behind why they make us feel less sore? Now, I have to prerequisitely mention this because I do find it important. I've had these questions about these tools for a really long time. And every time I go to research this, the actual science behind why they work, I have the hardest time finding straight up science-based answers, which shows me that we may not really truly know exactly why these things work. But for some people that are far smarter than me, they believe that they may know what's going on. So here's what I found, and definitely do your own research and take this with a grain of salt, knowing that there are still we're still kind of working out the true science as to why these things work, or at least the information as to why they work isn't readily available to the average person. So with that out of the way, here are a couple of things that experts believe is happening when you use a massage gun. Massage tools work on two different levels when it comes to helping with sore muscles. One of those levels is a mechanical effect. You are actually doing something physical to the soft tissue that is your muscle and your fascia that surround the muscle. So there's mechanical, but along with mechanical, there is also neurological effects. So if you go back to episode number 10, masterclass episode number 10, why the cool down is so important after the workout, we referred to an analogy where your brain and your muscles were the same type of thing as an amplifier is to speakers. So what the brain is to your muscles, the amplifier is to speakers. Your brain sends signals to the muscle to tell the muscle to contract, to flex, to shorten. It also sends signals to release or to hold on. There is actual electrical signals being sent throughout your body, and this is where the neurological effects of the massage tools come into play. So when you use these massage tools, we have two different effects: mechanical, actual change to the soft tissue, and neurological, meaning the effects of the electrical signals that are being sent from the brain to the muscles. As I was researching the actual science behind why these tools seem to work on soreness and recovery, I came across a video from the founder of the National Academy of Sports Medicine, or NSCM, which is a very huge accredited program, Dr. Michael Clark. He had a very interesting way of describing what is occurring. I'm going to quote him here. So, the mechanical effects of these massage tools are believed to have to deal with viscoelastic properties on the muscle. Now, what the heck does that mean? Well, the muscle has the actual skeletal muscle tissue, and then it has the fascia that surrounds the muscle, which is kind of like saran wrap around the muscle. And finally, it has a intracellular portion of the structure, which is just like what it sounds. It's all the stuff that's inside the actual cells and in between. All three of those things make up the mechanical aspects that are changing when we use these massage tools. Now, the fascia around the muscle is made up of course, this elastic material that makes up muscle tissue. But it also has this viscous-like substance. It's kind of like a gel. So that gel, it decreases the friction between the layers of muscle and also between the vast amounts of muscle fibers within the muscle itself. So there's the muscle, there's the fascia around it, and then there's this gel-like substance that's helping everything move and slide and glide nicely. So how Dr. Clark explains this is when you apply a vibrational force, it stimulates the viscous substance that is between the fascia and the muscle and also between the muscle fibers. All of that gel, it gets stimulated by the vibration along with some fluid, water, and what that does is it makes the substance less viscous and easier to move. His analogy was, think of toothpaste on your toothbrush. When you put the toothpaste on your toothbrush, it comes out like a gel. But then when you put it in your mouth and there's force where you mechanically move the toothbrush over your teeth, plus the liquid of either your spit or the water, that force and vibration turns the toothpaste into more of a liquid, which in the case of the muscle and the gel-like substance, it makes the muscle fibers easier to move, breaking up the tissue that has clumped together in the form of what we know as muscular knots. So hopefully you can kind of see the picture there on how the physical structure of the muscle and fascia are affected by these vibrating massage tools. It's a little bit harder for me to understand than this next aspect of vibration when it comes to the tools. I can kind of see it, but I don't know. It doesn't make 100% sense for me. I can definitely I would love a little bit more information on that is what I'm saying. Let's go on to the next effect. The next effect is the neurological component, which makes a little bit more sense to me. So go with me for a second into the muscle anatomy. Here's a quick little lesson. In your muscles, you have structures that sense too much tension in the muscle. And then you have similar structures in the tendons that connect the muscle to the bone. So you have sensors in the muscle and you have sensors in the tendons. These sensors sense too much tension or stretch to the tissues. The sensors have names. In the muscle, they are called muscle spindles, and in the tendons, they're called Golgi tendon organs. So muscles, the sensors inside of them that sense tension are muscle spindles, and then in the tendons, they're Golgi tendon organs that sense the tension in the tendons. Now, you don't have to know all that, but just in case you were wondering, there you have it. The sensors in the muscle are protective. If they sense a really fast lengthening of the muscle, or if they sense a stretch that is way too big of a stretch, they will instantly fire and cause that muscle that's being stretched to contract, to protect itself from tearing. That's crazy to me. If that muscle stretches too fast, it automatically sends a signal from the brain back to the muscle to contract that muscle so that it can protect itself from tearing and getting too stretched. So think of when you throw a ball. If you whip your arm back really fast, you could tear your chest or pec muscle or the front side of your shoulder if you did it really fast and maybe you had a weaker muscle that couldn't handle that. So when you whip your arm back, these muscle spindles sense that fast, huge stretch in the front of the shoulder and the chest muscles. So in protection, it makes those stretched chest and shoulder muscles fire and shorten and contract in order to avoid being ripped or torn. And this is also why you can throw much harder and much further when you whip your arm back and then slingshot it forward, rather than just holding your arm in the back position, starting from there, and then trying to throw it forward with no whip back. Try it. Try to throw something first with whipping your arm back and having that nice little rebound, and then start in the back position and throw forward. I can guarantee you that it doesn't go as far as if you had started forward and whipped your arm back. Now in the tendon, this is a little different. You have the same type of sensor in the tendon, but the tendons don't shorten and lengthen like the way that muscles do. Their purpose is to be the soft tissue structures that hold the muscle to the bone. So these are the connective tissues that hold muscle to bone, tendons. And what these Golgi tendon organs do inside the tendon is they react when they sense too much tension. So let's say you go on a Costco run and you have this huge box of groceries that you're carrying into your house. You're almost at your strength limit. You have that box, your hands are out in front of you, your elbows are at 90 degrees, you're holding a box, and you are at your strength limit. Then someone comes and puts a huge 50-pound bag of dog food on top of this box. Well, when you hold onto the box, your muscles aren't shortening or lengthening, right? They're being what? Isometrically hold. And holding that box in one place, when the dog food is added to it, because you're already at your strength limit, the sensors in the tendon of your elbows and your shoulders will sense the tension and immediately know that you're about to tear or rip, maybe tear the tendon off the bone. Okay, that's probably a little dramatic, but just go with me here so that the analogy makes sense. So when the tendon senses that the extra load is it's too much and that you're not strong enough to handle that load, then they send a signal to your muscle. Well, first it goes to the brain, but then it comes to your muscle, and it tells that muscle to actually let go. Because if it doesn't let go, the tendon can't lengthen, so the damage is going to be done if something doesn't happen. If it doesn't tell that muscle to do anything, since it itself can't shorten or lengthen like a muscle can, something's going to happen if it doesn't do anything. So the sensors in the tendon tell the muscle to get weaker or less tight, I guess, is it how we could say it if we're going to go right back to our massage gun examples. So in order to protect the tendon and the muscle from tearing, it tells that muscle to get less tight or weaker or let go. Okay, so that's the short anatomy lesson over. Super interesting, right? The recap, when the sensors in the muscle sense too much tension, they tell the muscle to contract or hold on or get shorter, contract. And when the sensors in the tendons sense too much tension, they tell that muscle to let go or to stop contracting out of protection. First off, how in the heck did our body figure out to do all this stuff on its own? It's mind-blowing to me. But back to the vibration tools. The whole point of telling you about these sensors in the muscles and the tendons was to set you up for what these massage tools are believed to do when they oscillate and vibrate into the muscle bellies. Those sensors are what we call neurological. They are electrical signals that travel up and down axons of your neurons. The sensors are neurological. The sensors send signals up and down the axons of your neurons. If you're not sure what those are, I like to think of them as electrical wires that go from your brain to your spinal cord and then out to the limbs and your peripheral body parts, right? So if those electrical signals travel up and down those wires and they tell the muscle to hold on or to let go. Now remember, we all have these past traumas in our life too, right? Think about what you're doing right now in this instant with your body. What are you doing? Don't move, but think about it. If you're a little stressed, your shoulders might be hunched up towards your ears. You might be rounded forward over the steering wheel if you're tired, or if you've had a long day, or if you're over your computer or your phone and your mind has been going all day. Maybe you're rounded, you're slouched, you might be relaxed, or maybe you're on high alert and you have a little bit of tension running throughout your whole entire body. If you're on high alert, you're tense. You could move really fast if you wanted to at any moment. I mean, what I have to believe is that you have memories of times that you got hurt. Maybe you had a really bad ankle sprain because you stepped off a curb the wrong way years and years ago. Well, your brain and your body are still going to remember that injury. And they now have that experience. Your brain has that experience. And avoiding that happening again is probably something that it's going to do out of protection. So the next time you step off a curb, your body will remember spraining its ankle years and years ago, and you're going to fire those muscles of your ankle to be more supportive, even without you actively thinking about it. And this makes me wonder, okay, well, that means that my brain is constantly telling my muscles to protect and to hold tension in ways that I'm not even conscious about. What that means to me is that some of my muscles are holding tension without even me telling them to. So one theory is that massage guns hit that muscle at such a speed and vibration velocity that in a way, it short circuits these electrical signals in the muscle, telling the sensors to let go of that automatic tension, of that stress tension, of that slight tightness in the muscle, which afterwards feels fantastic, right? We finally get some relief from those sore muscles or from those tight muscles. Or another theory is that when you exercise, you create these micro tears in the muscle, and then there's these pain receptors in the muscle. These pain receptors send the signal of pain up to the brain, which tells us in turn, do not use this muscle so that we can make it heal. Well, we went a little bit more in depth on this in Masterclass episode number 1 when we talked about why you get sore and what is happening there. But anyway, some say that the massage gun vibration dampens this signal, which is why we get some relief. So that's just really interesting to me. Another thing is that all of this is short-term, right? All of these are short-term fixes and mostly for relief in the moment. It's kind of like in the way that ice baths work, which I'm going to talk about ice baths in next week's Masterclass episode. But it is also important to note that as I researched the exact mechanism of how massage tools work, I could not find a definitive answer. There are many studies as to if they work, but as to why, I believe we are still trying to figure that out. These studies that show if they work, they test these subjects, and these subjects seriously have these feelings of relief. But please, if you're listening to this right now, I've been wondering this for years. If you have a for sure scientific answer as to why these massage tools are doing this physiologically, I would love to know. Just message me. Speaking of studies, I might as well mention the results of a few of these studies here. The first major study was conducted in 2014 for the Journal of Clinical and Diagnostic Research. This study involved 45 female subjects split into 3 groups of 15, receiving vibration massage, regular massage, and then no treatment prior to eccentric exercise, a reverse arm curl. So remember, eccentric is the most damaging. This is also really rare to find a study of all females. Usually, the only studies that you're going to find in this category are college-aged men, mostly because college-aged men will do anything for an easy buck, like put their bodies up for science. So this study looked at 24 hours, 48 hours, and 72 hours post-exercise. 24, 48, and 72 hours post-exercise. The vibration and the massage treatment groups had less muscle soreness. They had less muscle lactate dehydrogenase, which is the muscle burn. They had reduced creatine kinase, which is a proxy for muscle damage. It's how they measure if the muscle is still damaged. So reduced that. And increased recovery and range of motion. These are amazing results. They show that these tools and massage treatment works. Those findings overlap with what we see with massage techniques. There's a reason that pro athlete training camps often have a resident physical therapist and a masseuse, and those benefits were seen in the vibration tools as well. Many studies followed with generally similar results. The exact tools used in the interventions vary, of course, and sometimes maybe operating with different protocols, meaning how they're used. But it's really important to understand that when talking about these studies, there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of difference in ways that these studies were done. Vibration massage is different than percussive therapy, though there is likely an overlapping physiological mechanism as to why they are so beneficial. For example, some studies used vibrating foam rollers. Others used the gun, like the Theragun. And some even used vibration plates, which I'm going to talk about next week. Vibration plates are crazy, and I actually really like them. There's a difference, still a lot. And there's still a lot to understand about why these things work. Another study, pre-exercise, a study in 2020, that was just last year, in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, found that pre-exercise vibration massage increased ankle range of motion, increased muscle strength, and agility. A 2019 study in the Journal of Physical Therapy Science found that pre-exercise local vibration reduced signs of fatigue in the quadriceps muscle. And a 2017 study in the same journal had similar findings backing up the findings of reduced soreness, reduced creatine kinase, and reduced muscle lactate in the 72 hours after exercise. However, there is no universal agreement on how it influences endurance performance. So this is more for muscular performance. Post-exercise. A 2019 review studied in the International Journal of Medical Research analyzed 10 previous studies with a total of 258 total participants, so it was more like a meta-study, finding that post-exercise, delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS, was reduced with vibration techniques at 24 and 48 hours, but not at 72 hours. So delayed onset muscle soreness was reduced with vibration techniques at 24 hours and at 48 hours, but not at 72 hours. The most notable measurement was related to self-assessed soreness, so that's kind of subjective, and then also creatine kinase levels, which is objective. A 2017 review studied in the Frontiers of Physiology also found post-exercise massage reduced muscle soreness and improved muscle performance. Interestingly, those improvements were similar to what was seen with vibration massage. So there are likely similar physiological mechanisms that have come up with this result. What we don't know or we don't have are long-term studies on how vibration and percussive massages influence adaptation and injury rates, along with a consensus of how it affects runners specifically. So recap, after all of that, massage tools have been proven in the clinical setting to help with soreness and recovery in the form of the study participants expressing that they felt that change. So take it or leave it. The science is still up on that. However, scientifically, we really can't find a definitive answer as to why and what is happening to make this happen. But I mean, if people are saying that it happens, there's such a thing as placebo too. who cares how it's happening if it does happen? So I don't know. I use massage tools all the time, and I really think that they're a great way to do it. They might be a little expensive, and they might be extra, but that could be something that you might want to invest in. I would also put foam rollers, tennis balls, lacrosse balls, and other things of that nature on the same level as massage tools. However, a lot of people do foam roll at too high of an intensity, and that just makes that muscle go into protection mode. So there's definitely an art to foam rolling. I'm thinking of doing a completely separate topic on foam rolling because there's a lot to it, and there are definitely some controversial thoughts on the subject. So I'm just going to leave it at that for this episode. I apologize if you've been listening after this whole time and you were waiting to hear about foam rolling. I personally do not foam roll. My strategy for recovery is mobility work, deep tissue stretching at night. I do compression therapy, which we're going to discuss at the end of this episode, and I also do use massage guns on the occasion. Foam rolling to me is just not very fun. It seems like a waste of time for me, probably because I do it too aggressively like most everybody else. And if it's not fun and I can't see the results from doing it, then I'm just not going to do it because it is a waste of time for me. I've been told that the more you foam roll, the better that it gets. It's like a compounding factor, but I haven't really explored that far into it. So if you're a diehard foam roller fan, I don't hold it against you. I think that if it works for you, that's amazing. There's a skill to it. There's a strategy to it and a technique to it. We might even talk about that in later episodes. The last two items I want to touch on when it comes to the massage are massage compression boots and massage chairs. One of the tools that I use quite often for recovery of my leg muscles are compression boots. Now, there's some pretty expensive brands like the Normatec or the Rapid Reboot boots, which I wish I had. I'm kind of saving for them right now. If you search on Amazon, you can find all sorts of massage compression boots. They are essentially just sleeves that fill up with air and compress your legs. They squeeze and compress your muscles, and they help the flow of metabolic waste and buildup to be cleared from your lower body. Okay, you have a waste management system in your body. It's called the lymphatic system. I'm going to do a whole masterclass episode on the lymphatic system because it is amazing. I also think that it's going to be a huge topic of health and longevity here in the near future. We still are really finding out all of the crazy things that it does and just how beneficial it is for us. But let me try to explain it shortly here because these compression tools and their purpose is to help the lymphatic system and your intravenous system do their jobs. We all know about arteries and veins. Arteries pump blood from the heart to the rest of the body. And then veins, they bring that blood back to the heart. The heart pushes blood out to the peripheral limbs, like your arms, your fingers, your legs, down to your toes. The heart pushes blood. It's your pump. It's your muscle. The next part is important. The veins get the blood back to the heart using one-way valves. These veins are working against gravity. They don't have this huge heart muscle pumping helping them do it. So it's a really tough task taking that fluid all the way down from your feet back up to your heart against gravity without a pump. Your leg muscles actually assist the blood moving against gravity because when the leg muscles contract, when they squeeze, they actually push on the veins, causing the blood to move from one section of the vein up toward the heart to another section of the vein, with those one-way valves closing behind it to make sure that gravity doesn't pull it back down away from where it's supposed to go. Now, this is important. Here's where our sedentary lives can have huge negative effects on this process. When we sit for hours on end, your leg muscles aren't assisting with getting that blood back to your heart. The same goes for your lymphatic system. If you're sitting all day, you're not getting exercise, you're not getting movement, then your lymph, your waste, it's just sitting there and it's just accumulating in that one spot. And this is what we're referring to when we say metabolic waste buildup. It can be extremely impactful on your daily performance. Okay, listen, if you're constantly tired, if you're constantly in this blah mood, if you sit for a really long time at work and you notice yourself like dying near the end of the day, if you're constantly sore or achy in your joints in your body, This could be a result of your prolonged sedentary activity. Your prolonged sedentary activity is not helping clear out this metabolic waste buildup. And that is compounded when you exercise your legs and you crush your legs, and then you go to work or you go home and you do nothing else and you just sit there. You have now just created cellular trauma to the muscles. You've created rips and tears and inflammation. You've created this cascade of damage all throughout your soft muscular tissue, which is fine if you properly recover, but that's only if you clear out all the waste. You want to rebuild those tissues more resilient, but only if you recover properly. And that's where these compression boots come along, and they help with this huge task of getting this waste back into the system, back to where it can be cleared. Active recovery movement and minimizing your sedentary activity is going to be so beneficial to helping you heal. Your lymphatic system is an extension of your circulatory system. It carries oxygen throughout the body to the cells. It carries nutrients. It carries hormones, and it carries waste. It even has an immune component to help with your immune system, to attack viruses and microbes that aren't supposed to be there. You've heard of lymph nodes, right? Well, you have lymph nodes in your neck, your armpits, your groin area, and those lymph nodes are there to detect these viruses and microbes that are in your body that aren't supposed to be there. They send signals to certain glands to start creating white blood cells, to then start generating antibodies and killer T cells to defend you from these invaders. So we have this huge immune component when it comes to the lymphatic system as well. And when things aren't moving, that means that immune function is not operating properly. Now, these are supremely important things. And if the lymphatic system isn't flowing properly, if your veins are not getting your blood flow properly, it's easy to see how we could start seeing some issues arising from that. So again, simply put, because your legs are below your heart, it's harder for your heart to pump that waste from your legs to your lymph system, which helps to get rid of it. The idea behind compression boots and massage chairs, it's pretty simple. It helps your system increase blood flow to certain areas, which helps circulate the waste to get rid of it faster, allowing you to be less sore, allowing you to recover faster, and allowing you to help your body do what it was meant to do before we got these sedentary desk jobs and before we lived these super non-physical lifestyles. So when you're at work and you're sitting at your desk and you start to feel tired, get up, do body weight squats, do some lunges, do something, walk around, go get some water, any type of movement that's going to help that flow. Now, I actually really like what compression boots offer. It's just that they're so freaking, it's expensive. Normatec boots go for like $1,500. I bought my massage chair on Black Friday. And it was one year as a birthday gift to myself. It was 60% off, over half off. And I got it for $800. I used the excuse that any other recliner would be around that same price, so it made me feel a little bit better about dropping that amount of money on it. Do I recommend massage boots and massage chairs for recovery? Yeah, I definitely do. But the expense is definitely a downside, and I want you to know that you can have similar benefits with much less expensive tools and strategies. It may take a little research on your part on how to actually use your own hands or teach your significant other how to massage the right technique, but just know, even though they're really cool and they feel amazing, they are not necessary for you to have in your recovery tool belt. So we've talked about preventative strategies to keep you from getting sore, which is number one, preventative. We also talked about sleep. Once you are sore, that's number one, the most important thing that you can do for recovery. We've also talked about the foam rollers, the massage tools, why that works, the massage guns. We've even talked about the expensive stuff like the massage boots and the massage chairs. These are all great ways to recover. But this leads me to my top 2 ways to recover after we get sleep taken care of. The next strategy for recovering sore muscles used to be thought to actually make soreness worse. The advice was to do the exact opposite of what I'm about to tell you. But this is one of the most impactful things that you can do to minimize the effects of super sore muscles. Have you ever heard someone say, never train a sore muscle? Well, I sure have. Back in the day, this is what we were taught. Personal training certifications would teach this. My college courses would teach this. I've said this hundreds of times to clients in the past. Well, guess what? We were wrong. Oops. Yeah. You live, you learn, and you adjust and you move forward. I know, it's annoying. One of the best things that you could do for soreness is active recovery movement. Mimicking the movements that you did to make you sore at super low intensity levels, or as some of the experts that I follow call it, trigger sessions, to lightly move and get blood flow to the muscles that are sore, or at least will be sore. That's right, I'm telling you that if you had a killer leg workout and you know that you went too far, the worst thing that you can do is go home, sit, put your legs up, and not use them. One thing that I recommend people doing after a workout that makes your legs feel like maybe like a baby giraffe is to go for a short to medium, slow, relaxing walk. Something like a walk in the park or a walk on the beach or walk in nature at a speed that looks like you're in no hurry to get anywhere. This is going to help the flow of the body to clear what needs to be cleared as far as your muscular damage and metabolic waste. This will help the body keep blood flow going to those areas where blood flow is needed to repair and rebuild. Other strategies are, let's say if you hit your upper body, your chest really hard one day. If you hit your chest, then the next day, grab an exercise band, or you could even use like a rubber tube that you can get from Home Depot. You can get these exercise bands for super cheap. Go on Amazon, go to Target, whatever. You can get it for under $10 most of the time. Some of them have handles, some of them have attachments. All you need is a little bit of resistance to this tube. Nothing crazy. Take that band and do some chest press mimicking exercises periodically throughout the day to pump blood to those muscles. So you can wrap it around your back and hold it in either hand and just do some air presses where you're pressing against the band and really focusing on the chest, just doing a little trigger session for the chest. You're triggering the body to use that muscle group. You're triggering the healing process to a certain muscle. And you're just doing this by doing easy reps that affect the specific muscle that you're trying to target. Or if you don't have a band, you could do countertop push-ups where you're almost standing completely upright, but you put your hands on a countertop and you do easy countertop push-ups. You could probably do like a set of 100 if you had to, but in this case, maybe you do 15 or 20, a handful of times throughout the day. It's definitely not a workout. It's just helping send a signal to the muscle to aid in the healing process. I know, it's like the exact opposite of what we were told to completely rest the muscle until it doesn't feel sore anymore. For me right now, I'll give you an example. This will kind of help you kind of visualize what I'm talking about here. You do not have to do what I do. I've been lifting for decades and I've been on this for a while. So this is just to give you an idea of like the timeline. I'm on a super standard and simple workout routine right now. I resistance train 6 days a week. Usually I'm on a 3-day rotation, or as it's also called a 3-day split routine. So I'll do legs one day, and then I'll do back the next day, and then I'll do chest the third and final day. Calves are included with the legs, biceps are hit during back day, and shoulders or triceps are included during chest day. I do this Monday through Saturday, hitting each day twice. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I started over Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then most of the time I'll actively rest on Sunday. Now here's where it gets a little spicy, and I know not a lot of people are going to do this, but this is what I love to do. So I make it a priority to schedule this in. It's a little extra. If I do legs on Monday, I'm going to do multiple trigger sessions for my legs on the next day, Tuesday. So every hour, I'll do 20 reps of something. Maybe this is on Tuesday. Maybe I'll do weights, body weight squats or body weight lunges, or I'll stand on a step and I'll do 20 calf raises. This is just to keep blood flow to those muscle groups that were hit so hard on Monday, to get them triggered and get that blood flow to that muscle group and keep the recovery process going. Or if I do my back on Tuesday, then on Wednesday, every hour, I'm going to stop and I'm going to grab a band and I'm going to do some reverse band pull aparts. So kind of like reverse flies, standing reverse flies with the band, or where I squeeze my shoulder blades behind me, or I'll loop it around the table leg and I'll do some banded rows, really focusing on the squeeze. And it's really light. I could do thousands of reps if I wanted to, but it's just to get the muscles squeezing, shortening, lengthening, and getting blood flow to those areas. Or maybe I'll pass a doorway and I'll do a pull-up bar and I'll do just 2 or 3 pull-ups and I'll just keep moving, all to trigger the back muscles to continue building and growing from the previous day. Or if I lifted chest on Wednesday, then Thursday, along with doing my second leg lift of the week, right? Because I'm doing a main lift, but I'm also doing these weird small trigger sessions. If I lift my chest on Wednesday, then Thursday is all about dropping down and doing a set of 10 push-ups here and a set of 10 push-ups there, all to help the chest keep repairing from its Wednesday full training session. If that seems like way too much for you, I get it. You definitely don't have to do that. I do it. I just wanted to give you an idea of what that looked like in my life. If anything, walking or mobility or yoga or deep stretching, anything that gets the body moving those sore body parts and keeps you away from immobilizing those sore body parts, not moving those sore body parts. Is your upper body sore? Nothing better than a super easy, relaxing swim in the pool. You could ride your beach on the boardwalk. You could ride your bike on the boardwalk if your legs were hit, or you could do a yin yoga YouTube video and stretch them out before you go to bed. I will say it again. Movement is life, and stagnation is your enemy. Momentum generates more momentum. Daily activity is going to increase your quality of life, increase your health span, and it's going to make you less tired and feel better. I promise. This is the secret that tons of people I train never ever realize could be their saving grace until they actually implement it into their lives. And then the last strategy, besides your active recovery, besides your sleep, besides your massage tools, the last strategy, of course, I couldn't do a muscle recovery masterclass episode if I didn't talk about the stuff that you put in your mouth, your diet and your hydration. Your muscles are made up of proteins. Your body cannot build the structures that it needs to without the raw materials. You're going to have a really hard time building the house without the steel, the lumber, the drywall, the brick. A house made of trash is a house that will offer you trash results. The same goes with your body. You are what you consume. What you put into your body becomes you. I still don't think that I quite grasp this concept entirely yet. To me, this is still one of the most magical things in the world. Next to Wi-Fi and how phones work. Well, I mean, I'm just kidding. Of course, someone knows how those work. But for real, it's insane. Do you sit down and you look at your plate, and before you put it in your mouth, do you consider that this is about to become the energy that you use and the soft tissue that makes up who you are? When I look at you, I'm looking at all the protein that you've eaten. When you train extra hard, then additional and adequate proteins should be consumed to help give the body the raw materials that it needs to repair the damage that has been done. If you lack that nutrition, you can be sure that your soreness is going to be longer and probably more uncomfortable than had you refueled properly. So what we are talking about here is adequate protein intake amount. After intense training sessions, obviously do what works for you and your diet. But for me, what this looks like is a lot of lean meats. I don't know why, but my go-to is almost always some sort of turkey. I love turkey. You can also do chicken, fish like salmon, cod, halibut. I can't recommend enough checking out this company called ButcherBox. If there is one auto subscription that I value over any other of mine, it's our ButcherBox subscription. Some of the highest quality meat delivered straight to your doorstep. You decide how you want to spend your credits, and you can have them shipped every 1 month, every 2 months, or every 3 months. You decide the frequency. This has been a game changer for my diet. I went from processed deli meats and chicken strips that come in a microwavable bag and chicken that was pumped full of God knows what, to the highest quality meat that I have ever put into my body. And that includes those fancy restaurants that I go to from time to time. I have no affiliation with ButcherBox, but I have used them for over a year now, and it's by far my favorite nutritional investment. If you go to butcherbox.com/mindpump or /max or /Dave, any of those links, butcherbox.com/mindpump, MINDPUMP, or /max, MAX, or /Dave, DAVE, you'll get a special of the month. When I signed up for my subscription, I got a free bacon for life. Did you hear that? Free bacon for life. Every single box that I get a package of free bacon thrown in there. It's incredible. You're not going to regret it. If you eat meat, check out butcherbox.com. I have also incorporated lots of nuts into my diet. I know it's high in fats, high in calories, but it works for me. I'm also someone that's looking to gain weight, so take that with a grain of salt. I'm huge on Barukas nuts, Barukas nuts. If you haven't heard of Barukas nuts, you got to get on this train. It's the healthiest nut in the world, and it has the greatest environmental impact of all the nuts. I found out about these nuts from Darren Olean, who was on the Netflix show with Zac Efron. That Netflix show was called Down to Earth. If you haven't seen Down to Earth, they're actually filming a second season, which is sick. I'm excited for it. Down to Earth, check it out. It's amazing. But also check out this company that Darren is one of the founders of, Barukas Nuts. Also, I'm a huge person that I like almonds. I like cashews, Brazil nuts, walnuts, pistachios. I love sunflower seeds, but that's just because I like to chew on stuff. Just pretty much any kind of nuts. And then I'm also a big fan. I'm a big fan of dairy. Yes, dairy. I always cringe when I tell people that because most people come back at me and are like, dairy? Really? You eat dairy? I'm like, yeah, it really works well for me. If your goal is not weight loss, even check out chocolate milk. Yeah, I know. Most people think it's a myth, but for me, it's always worked really well. I'm an outlier with my fitness goals, so do your own research. But there are some scientific studies on chocolate milk and how it can aid in the recovery process. Anyway, the whole point of all that was to tell you to really prioritize protein. Whatever lean and good quality protein is that works for you. Some of you might be vegetarian, vegan. Just do the protein that works for you and make sure you get the right amount. And if that has to be in some form of shake, then sometimes anything is better than nothing, right? You can make it a protein shake. Let me know your thoughts on this. If you have any expertise or any passionate opinions or anything like that, I'm all ears. And then along with your nutrition, you can supplement with your nutrition. I would include a supplement, omega-3 fish oil supplement. I would also include glutamine and then water. Your muscles are made up of 75% water. You got to give the body the building blocks it needs. Water helps with flow. Water helps with such a high percentage of bodily processes. You have to drink your water. Take your body weight in pounds and divide that by 2. That's the amount of ounces that you drink in a day. If you're 150 pounds, 75 ounces of water. You have to. Trust me. Do it and your life will change. I also take a glutamine powder for recovery, 3 to 5 grams a day with my pre and post-workout drinks, 3 to 5 grams total. To aid in recovery as well. Do your research on this, and when it comes to glutamine and fish oil, when you're using it for recovery purposes. And if you haven't listened to the episodes we did on supplements, go ahead and check out those episodes as well. They could be helpful in making the decision on what supplements are right for you and how much you should personally take for your fitness goals and for your recovery goals. All right, I hope this episode was helpful to you and that you can implement some of these strategies into your recovery protocols. And I would be crazy if I told you that these were the only ways to recover. There are many, many, many other ways that we can do it that I didn't touch on. So stay tuned. Next week, I'm going to continue on this topic a little bit, and we're going to discuss some unconventional styles of recovery, along with some once believed recovery strategies that actually may be doing more harm than good. Let me know what you do to recover and what you have seen worked for you. Remember that soreness is not a great indicator of how effective your workout was, but it does show that enough was done to elicit a response. Remember that it is in the recovery where you get stronger, better, faster, and more resilient. So if you're constantly sore every single day, your body is most likely going the opposite way of your progress and hitting your goals. This is a fun game that we're going to be constantly playing with ourselves, where we're trying to find the least amount of training that will elicit the most beneficial responses. There is a sweet spot. And no, I have no idea where yours is. That's the fun of it. It's completely different than everyone else's. You are unique. You are an individual, and it is up to you to find out what works best for you. Happy training, friends. Happy recovering, and happy exploring and discovering what your body is truly capable of.